Hello everyone. Today we will talk about measuring results and behaviors. Assessing performance with a results approach. Chapter 2 presents an overview of assessing employee performance using a results-oriented approach. It emphasizes the importance of addressing three key questions. Key accountabilities. Identify the primary responsibilities of an employee where they are expected to focus their efforts. Performance objectives. Define measurable outcomes that are expected within each accountability area. Performance standards. Establish criteria to gauge the level of success in achieving these objectives, assessing aspects such as quality, quantity, cost, and time. Key concepts. Key accountabilities. Broad job areas for which employees are responsible for delivering results. Objectives. Specific, measurable outcomes that an employee aims to achieve corresponding to their accountabilities. Performance standards. Benchmarks that evaluate the success of performance relative to objectives, clarifying acceptable and unacceptable performance. Management by objectives, MBO. Organizations implementing an MBO philosophy tend to establish results-based performance management systems. Examples include Kraft Heinz displays personal goals of employees publicly to foster accountability and transparency. Hewlett-Packard, HP. Founding member Bill Packard credited MBOs as integral to the company's success. Google sets ambitious stretch goals, encouraging employees to achieve approximately 65% of these targets. LinkedIn establishes quarterly objectives and conducts weekly meetings to track progress. Zynga encourages employees to set weekly objectives and aims for completion of a substantial portion of these goals. Determining accountabilities. Determining accountabilities within a job begins with the collection of detailed information, primarily through the job description that stems from job analysis and the strategic priorities of the organization. The job description outlines specific tasks that an employee is expected to perform. These tasks can be grouped into clusters based on their relatedness, with each cluster representing a broad area of responsibility, known as an accountability. Identifying these accountabilities is crucial for establishing clear expectations for employee performance and outcomes. Once accountabilities are identified, the next step is to assess their relative importance. This involves answering several key questions. What percentage of the employee's time is allocated to each accountability? What would be the impact on the work unit's mission if an accountability were performed inadequately? Additionally, it's important to consider the consequences of errors, such as potential risks to safety, financial loss, or operational inefficiencies. This assessment helps prioritize accountabilities and ensures that the most critical responsibilities are adequately addressed. To illustrate this process, consider the role of a training specialist consultant at Target Corporation. The job involves several key accountabilities. First, process leadership is a major responsibility, occupying 40% of the employee's time. This involves leading the strategy and direction for training initiatives, which is vital for executive effectiveness and achieving strategic business goals. Poor management in this area can lead to wasted resources and ineffective leadership training. Another accountability is the supervision of non-exempt staff, which takes up 10% of the time. This responsibility is important for staff development and achieving business targets. Inadequate supervision could compromise both. The role also includes coaching managers and executives, which accounts for 20% of the time. Effective coaching is essential for developing internal leaders. Failure here can result in operational inefficiencies and increased turnover. The position also involves team-building consultation, where the training specialist assists leaders in conducting team-building sessions, which is essential for team success and takes up another 10% of the time. Mismanagement can lead to wasted resources and unproductive teams. Additionally, delivering feedback based on assessment instruments constitutes 10% of the role, aiding in leader development. Incorrect feedback can hinder leadership growth. Lastly, continuous improvement in training programs through technology is another key accountability, also accounting for 10% of the employee's time. Effective execution in this area can lead to significant gains in efficiency and effectiveness. Determining objectives. After identifying accountabilities, the next step in performance management is to establish specific objectives. Objectives are defined as measurable and important outcomes that, when achieved, contribute significantly to the overall success of the organization. The primary goal of setting objectives is to focus employees' efforts on a limited number of critical results that can dramatically impact organizational performance. Following the establishment of objectives, it is essential to provide employees with feedback on their progress and reward those who successfully meet their goals. Objectives must possess several key characteristics to be effective. They need to be specific and clear, making them easy to understand and measurable. An example being cut travel costs by 20%. They should also be challenging, pushing employees to stretch their abilities while still being achievable. It is crucial that objectives are agreed upon by both managers and employees to foster commitment and reduce resistance. Moreover, objectives must be significant to the organization, meaning that their achievement should align with the organization's overall success and enhance employees' sense of value. Additionally, objectives should be prioritized, manageable in number, and have a time-bound aspect, with deadlines to ensure focus. They should be achievable, meaning employees have the required skills and resources, and fully communicated to everyone affected by them. Objectives must also be flexible, allowing for adjustments in response to changes in the work environment, and should typically be limited to between 5 and 10 per review period to maintain manageability. Many organizations follow these guidelines when setting goals. Microsoft, for instance, employs a SMART framework: specific, measurable, achievable, results-oriented, and time-sensitive in its performance management system. Research indicates that specific and challenging goals lead to higher performance compared to vague or easy goals, emphasizing that clear objectives establish priorities and foster greater effort and persistence towards achieving targets. To apply these principles to the role of training specialist consultant at Target Corporation, examples of objectives can be outlined as follows. Process leadership. Establish leadership development processes and training programs within budget and meet targets that improve executive leaders' leadership readiness scores by 20% in the fiscal year. Supervision of non-exempt staff. Achieve acceptable managerial effectiveness ratings from non-exempt staff during the upcoming fiscal year. Coaching. Improve managerial effectiveness scores of executive coaching clients throughout the fiscal year. Team building consultation. Deliver necessary team training sessions within budget throughout the year, achieving an acceptable satisfaction rating based on follow-up surveys. Assessment instrument feedback. Provide assessment feedback that receives an acceptable approval rating from coaching clients by the end of the fiscal year. Product improvement. Enhance satisfaction with training delivery by achieving acceptable scores while remaining on budget throughout the fiscal year. Okay. Now determining performance standards. After establishing accountabilities and objectives, the next crucial step in performance management is defining performance standards. These standards serve as benchmarks that clarify the extent to which objectives have been achieved, providing raters with a means to assess performance. Standards can evaluate various aspects of objectives, including quality, quantity, and time. Each dimension acts as criteria for judging performance, leading to a comprehensive understanding of an individual's effectiveness in their role. Quality assesses how well an objective has been met, taking into consideration factors such as usefulness, responsiveness, resolution effectiveness, error rates, and customer feedback. Quantity measures output, including the volume of work produced, frequency, and associated costs. Finally, time focuses on adherence to deadlines, timeliness of deliverables, and overall efficiency in meeting schedules. For example, a performance standard might state, reduce overtime from 150 hours month to 50 hours month within 6 months at a cost not exceeding $16,000. This standard outlines the action to be taken, the desired result, a due date, and measurable indicators of success. Performance standards typically describe fully satisfactory performance and can be further calibrated to outline minimum and outstanding performance levels. For instance, a minimum standard might reduce overtime to 75 hours month, while an outstanding performance standard could aim for a reduction to 40 hours month within a shorter time frame. When crafting performance standards, several important characteristics should be considered. Good standards should be directly related to key elements of the job rather than focusing on individual traits or comparisons. They must be concrete, specific, and measurable, allowing for clear differentiation among levels of performance. Additionally, standards should be practical to measure, meaning that they provide necessary performance information efficiently and accurately. They should also be meaningful, aligning with the job's purpose and the organization's mission, while being realistic and achievable within the given time frame. Finally, performance standards should be reviewed regularly to ensure they remain relevant and effective. Using these characteristics as a guideline, we can apply them to the performance standards for the training specialist consultant role at Target Corporation. Here are some examples of standards associated with each objective. Process leadership. Increase executive leaders' leadership readiness scores by 20% within 5 months at a cost not exceeding $70,000. Supervision of non-exempt staff. Achieve managerial effectiveness rating scores of at least 80% approval from non-exempt staff within 5 months. Coaching. Improve managerial effectiveness scores of executive coaching clients by 5% within 5 months. Team building consultation. Design and deliver 95% of scheduled team building sessions, maintaining costs under $30,000 and achieving at least 85% satisfaction ratings within 5 months. Assessment instrument feedback. Provide assessment feedback with an 85% approval rating from coaching clients within 5 months. Product improvement. Increase satisfaction scores for training delivery by 5% within 5 months at a cost not exceeding $30,000. To evaluate these performance standards against the characteristics outlined, we can assess whether they are related to the position, specific and measurable, practical, meaningful, realistic, and subject to regular review. Most of the standards presented largely meet these criteria. However, some standards could benefit from enhancement. For instance, the standard for coaching could specify how the improvement in managerial effectiveness scores will be measured, for example, through specific survey tools or assessments. Additionally, the product improvement standard could detail the method for measuring satisfaction scores, ensuring clarity on how these ratings will be gathered. By refining these aspects, the performance standards can become even clearer and more actionable, supporting effective performance evaluation within the organization. Measuring behaviors. Chapter 2 introduces the concept of measuring behaviors, specifically through the lens of competencies. Competencies are defined as measurable clusters of knowledge, skills, and abilities, KSAs, that play a critical role in determining how effectively results are achieved. Understanding competencies is essential for performance measurement in various roles, such as IT project managers, where specific skills like process management can distinguish superior performers from average ones. Conversely, threshold competencies are basic skills necessary for fulfilling job responsibilities at a minimal standard, such as change management. To gain clarity on competencies, it is important to articulate them in behavioral terms. For instance, the competency of communication for a professor teaching online can be evaluated based on specific behaviors, such as being present during scheduled chat sessions. This highlights that competencies are not merely abstract notions. They must be linked to observable actions that can serve as indicators of the competency's presence. Competencies are further detailed through several components. A thorough description includes the competency's definition, observable behavioral indicators, behaviors that indicate a lack of competency, and suggestions for how to develop the competency. For example, the leadership competency of consideration includes showing concern for followers and supporting their well-being. Indicators of this competency might involve supporting projects and encouraging employees, while a lack of consideration could be reflected in limited communication or disregard for personal circumstances. To measure competencies effectively, organizations rely on judgment-based evaluations. Observers such as supervisors, peers, and even employees provide valuable insights into the presence of competencies. Two primary evaluation systems exist: comparative systems, which assess performance by comparing employees against each other, and absolute systems, which measure against predefined performance standards. Comparative systems of measuring behaviors. Comparative systems for measuring behaviors involve evaluating employees in relation to one another rather than against a fixed standard. One common method is the simple rank order, where employees are ranked from best to worst based on performance. Another approach is the alternation rank order, where raters create a list of all employees and then alternate between selecting the best and worst performers until all are ranked. A more rigorous method is the paired comparisons system, where raters make explicit comparisons between all pairs of employees being evaluated. For example, if there are 8 employees, 28 comparisons would need to be made, with rankings determined by counting how often each employee is rated as better than another. The relative percentile method is another comparative approach where raters evaluate employees on a 100-point scale. This method allows performance to be situated within a distribution, indicating how an employee ranks among peers. For example, a score in the 95th percentile suggests performance is better than 95% of employees. A notable method is the forced distribution system, where employee performance is categorized according to a normal distribution curve. For instance, a set percentage of employees might be classified as exceeding, meeting, or not meeting expectations. This method was notably implemented at General Electric under former CEO Jack Welch, promoting a culture that aimed to identify and retain high performers while addressing underperformance. However, forced distribution has faced criticism for fostering unhealthy competition and not accurately reflecting individual contributions. While comparative systems offer advantages such as straightforward explanations and decisions, they also have significant disadvantages. Critically, employees are often judged based on a single overall performance category, which can limit the feedback's specificity and may even lead to legal challenges. Moreover, rankings derived from these systems do not provide detailed insights into the relative performance distances between employees. Despite criticisms, many organizations, including Cargill and Adobe, are rediscovering the value of performance evaluations through continuous feedback mechanisms, emphasizing ongoing discussions instead of traditional annual reviews. These companies may present new labels for their performance management systems, but are essentially engaging in consistent assessment practices similar to those abandoned in the past. The nature of the performance distribution. The concept of forced distribution systems suggests that employee performance scores are compelled to fit a particular distribution pattern, often resembling a normal bell curve. Historically, many organizations, including General Electric and Yahoo, have employed this model to categorize employee performance. The underlying assumption is that most employees will cluster around the average, with only a small fraction exhibiting exceptional or poor performance. However, recent research challenges the validity of relying solely on a normal distribution. Rather than conforming to a bell curve, performance appears to follow a heavy-tailed distribution. Studies involving over 600,000 workers across various fields have shown that many employees can be classified as star performers, far exceeding the average capabilities. In stark contrast to a normal distribution, where extreme performances are anomalies, a heavy-tailed distribution reveals that a significant number of high achievers can exist simultaneously. Normal distributions may hold true in specific contexts, such as in manufacturing, where processes limit the speed with which workers can perform tasks. Yet, in today's service-oriented economy, these limitations are increasingly rare. With the rapid advancements in technology and communication, organizations see fewer constraints on performance, making heavy-tailed distributions more likely. Recognizing that star performers exist and acknowledging their significant contributions become essential, as they have a profound positive impact on various organizational outcomes, including client retention and innovation. To cultivate more star performers, organizations should take several proactive steps. First, identifying and eliminating situational constraints can empower employees to reach their full potential. Providing resources that facilitate this emergence is essential. Additionally, allowing star performers to rotate across teams fosters knowledge transfer and network expansion. Organizations should ensure substantial investment in high-performing individuals who align with core strategic objectives, while also paying attention to their developmental networks, such as providing opportunities for their families. Retention of star performers is crucial, particularly during financial downturns, as their departure can trigger a decline in overall performance. Their contributions are often disproportionate, akin to having a few customers generating most sales. Thus, Treating these employees well is critical to maintaining organizational health. Clear communication of benefits for high performance can motivate others to emulate these stars. Conversely, implementing non-performance-based incentives and maintaining limited pay disparity can hinder the emergence of star performers, as they promote a culture of uniformity rather than excellence. Absolute systems of performance evaluation. Absolute systems are designed to evaluate employee performance independently, avoiding direct comparisons with other employees. This approach focuses on providing an individual assessment of each employee's strengths, weaknesses, and suggestions for improvement. One common method within absolute systems is essay evaluations, where raters write descriptive essays detailing each employee's performance. While this method allows for detailed qualitative feedback, it has significant drawbacks. The essays can vary greatly in structure and content, making cross-employee comparisons challenging. Additionally, because essays do not yield quantitative data, they may complicate personnel decisions related to rewards and promotions. Another approach is the behavior checklist, which consists of a list of specific behaviors associated with various competencies. Raters check off the behaviors they observe in each employee, often using a scale such as always to never. This system offers a more straightforward way to quantify performance, as responses can be tallied for an overall score. However, while it simplifies the evaluation process, behavior checklists can sometimes lack depth in providing meaningful feedback. The critical incidents method serves as yet another strategy, collecting reports of specific situations where employees demonstrated effective or ineffective behaviors. This method helps contextualize performance assessments based on real job scenarios, providing tangible examples of behavior. Yet, collecting and analyzing these incidents can be time-consuming, and it may be difficult to assign quantitative value to the incidents collected. Lastly, behaviorally anchored rating scales, BUZZ, blend graphic rating scales with critical incidents to enhance the clarity and relevance of performance ratings. In this system, performance dimensions are clearly defined, and critical incidents illustrate various performance levels, thus improving consistency and comprehension in evaluations. The role of context in performance measurement. Context significantly influences how performance is measured, shaping the emphasis on results versus behaviors, the choice between comparative or absolute systems, and various accountability standards. Understanding this context is essential for developing an effective performance management system. For instance, organizational culture plays a crucial role. In highly competitive environments, where a win-lose mentality prevails, employees often prioritize personal success over collaboration. In such cultures, performance management systems are less likely to incorporate measures of contextual performance, such as teamwork and cooperation. Instead, metrics may focus solely on individual achievement, potentially undermining collaboration. Another example can be seen in firms with transactional cultures, where the priority is maximizing immediate profits from customers rather than fostering long-term relationships. Employees in such environments are often incentivized to push specific products, as observed in many investment banks. The performance management systems in these organizations typically emphasize sales volume over customer relationships. This approach can lead to unethical practices, as seen in the Wells Fargo scandal, where employees created fraudulent accounts to meet aggressive sales targets. Industry trends also impact the performance measurement landscape. In the financial services sector, There is an increasing awareness among consumers regarding conflicts of interest inherent in traditional advisory roles. In response, firms like Merrill Lynch have shifted their performance management systems to emphasize transparency and client interests. By implementing a flat fee structure based on portfolio assets, they aim to align the incentives of financial advisors with the long-term success of their clients. Leadership is another critical factor affecting performance measurement. Leaders set the strategic direction for how performance is evaluated. Andy Sieg, head of Merrill Lynch Wealth Management, highlights that changing the performance metrics is not just a business strategy, but a necessary step toward rebuilding trust in the financial industry. He believes this shift will assure clients that their interests are prioritized over those of the institution.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to channel.